What's up, big ballers? It's the Birdman. I'm flying solo today. You're not going to get any pushback or insight from MJG, which kind of sucks for you because generally speaking, he gives a little bit better advice. But it is what it is. So let's get started. First things first, let's take a look at who's out this week or potentially going to be out. Someone you might want to keep your eye on as the week progresses and we see how the practices play out. Justin Herbert, IR. CJ Stroud, concussion. Keep an eye on that. It's rare for someone to bounce back within 1 week from a concussion, so there's a chance he'll be out this week. But again, quarterback, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud. Wide receiver, we got a lot going on. Keenan Allen, out. Devontae Adams, questionable. He's sick, probably be fine. Tyreek, he exited the game last week, but then he came back in and he continued playing. So you're going to have to keep an eye on that, see what's going on with Tyreek. DJ Moore, same thing. He exited the game but then returned. Should be fine, both those guys, but time will tell over the next couple days. We'll see if they practice. Nico Collins, calf injury. Definitely got to keep an eye on that. Deontay Johnson, questionable with a knee injury. I'm not sure what's going on with that because he did practice yesterday, but he did not practice today, Wednesday. Christian Watson, out with a hamstring injury. Christian Watson and Chris Olave are both questionable, and of course Hollywood Brown. So Christian Watson, questionable hamstring. Chris Olave, questionable with an ankle. And Hollywood Brown, still banged up after the bye week. I'm not sure if he's going to play this week, and you got to keep an eye on Watson and Olave. And Deontay Johnson, like I said, him and Nico Collins are both also listed as questionable. I don't know. Nico Collins, those calf injuries, man, they can linger. And Deontay Johnson, I think, tweaked his knee in practice on Tuesday. Running back, we got Josh Jacobs, questionable with a quad injury. Alexander Madison, questionable with an ankle. Probably going to be out this week. Ramondre Stevenson, questionable with an ankle. Probably going to be out this week. Jerome Ford, questionable with a wrist injury. Isaiah Pacheco, questionable with a shoulder injury. And Aaron Jones, that knee injury has been lingering all season, but he should be back this week. Now, some waiver adds this week that you want to consider. Again, this is stuff you just consider because most likely you don't need to add these guys because you're in the playoffs. But you always want to have a backup plan, and it's always good to have a stacked bench going into the playoffs in case something happens. Not a lot of people roster 2 quarterbacks, and Jake Browning has been fantastic 2 weeks in a row. I thought week 13 was a fluke, but then he did it again last week. So you could consider rostering him just to leave him on your bench, or if you're desperate and you had Josh Herbert or something, plug him in. Jaden Reed, reliable wide receiver, and Christian Watson might not play this week. Noah Brown, Tank Dell is out. Collins might be out. And if that's the case, Noah Brown's probably going to blow up this week. Zay Jones might be available to pick up. He had 14 targets last week. And as we know, Christian Kirk is out. They're all actually listed as questionable, but still worth a pickup and an add to your roster. Running back, maybe Donta Foreman if you're desperate for a running back. But again, if you're in the playoffs, you probably don't need him. Antonio Gibson, if Brian Robinson is ruled out, because right now he's questionable too. Kareem Hunt, if Jerome Ford is ruled out, because Jerome Ford is questionable. And Chase Brown. We'll see what he does this week, but he was impressive last week. He had one catch where he had like 70 yards after the catch or 75 yards after the catch. Chase Brown's someone to keep your eye on, so maybe roster him. Just see what happens over the next week or two. Ooh boy, it's getting hot in her. My first hot matchup of the week, and I'm actually going to give you 4 this week. Broncos versus the Lions. Jared Goff is going to bounce back this week. And let's keep it simple with the Lions offense, okay? Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery are all studs that should be in your lineup. Now on the other side of the field, we got Russell Wilson. Nothing to get excited about, but he's been pretty consistent. Courtland Sutton has 10 touchdowns on this season and has also been very consistent. Don't start Jerry Jeudy. I've never been on the hype train, and he's proving me right again this year. He might get you 10 to 12 points on a good day, but again, that's on a good day. Javonte Williams finally scored a touchdown. Isn't that great? He's actually been pretty consistent this year too. I mean, a few up and down games, but solid floor. That's basically the entire offense for the Broncos. They're very boring. They're not fun to watch, but they do give you a reliable floor every week. Now, my second hot matchup. Oh, and by the way, the defenses for both of those teams should not be an issue for the Broncos and the Lions. My second hot matchup of the week, the Niners versus the Cardinals. Let's keep it simple for the Niners too. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle should all be in your lineup this week. They're all playing very well. They make the Detroit studs look like scrubs. That's how good the Niners are. They're going to run all over Arizona. And let me see. It was week 4 when they run a train on them and won by 19 points. I expect the same kind of game this week. They're going to just be destroying them, probably win by 2 or 3 scores. On the other side of the ball, your options are limited, but at least the team is rested from a bye. Again, not all of them, but most of them. Trey McBride, stud. You play him every week. The only guys I would really play over him are Travis Kelce and Sam Laporta. Other than that, I think he's the third best right now as far as current tight ends that you want to play. James Conner, risky play every week, but he had an amazing game last week against the Steelers. I would plug him in if you didn't have another option, but you may have another option. But last week, or 2 weeks ago, because of the bye, 2 weeks he finished with over 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Marquise Brown is banged up. I wouldn't start him, and if you're in the playoffs, you probably have better options anyway. And you probably have better options than Kyler Murray too. If this is a high-scoring game, you should be confident that Trey McBride will get plenty of volume. And you should hope that Connor gets some goal line work. If they get up to the goal line, which is a big if. Are they going to get to the goal line? I don't know. Niners D hasn't been as good as... They're not playing to the level that everyone expected, at least. They are a good defense, but they're not at the highest level like we expected earlier in the season. So if they get to the goal line, expect James Conner to produce as well. Now, my third matchup of the week is the Cowboys versus the Bills. Dak Prescott, who I completely doubted until almost week 10, has been unbelievable. So he's a must start every week. I can't think of any quarterback I would rather have on my fantasy team than him right now. CeeDee Lamb, that's his favorite target. He's a must start every week. Brandon Cooks has been up and down, but I think he's going to have a big game. And Jake Ferguson has been reliable all season, which is great because the tight end position is so frustrating to find someone reliable. Tony Pollard has been very consistent recently, and I said that would happen in one of my player profiles about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Actually, it was 6 weeks ago I did the player profile on him. And the best part about the Dallas offense is they're playing the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills suck on defense. They've had a few good games, but generally speaking, they suck. So you can expect all of the offense from Dallas to be producing. Really, I think Dallas is just going to eat them alive. I think this is going to be a one-sided game. I'm hoping that there's enough offense that it's a back-and-forth game, but we'll see. The Bills' offense, they do have enough to get excited about, despite going up against a tough Dallas defense. Josh Allen is incredible despite the turnovers. He's the number one fantasy quarterback. He's going to be in your lineup every week. James Cook has been reliable all season. And I think he's a must start unless you do have a better running back. It might be the case where he's a flex play for you. That's great. He's got a solid floor every week. Stephon Diggs has been up and down, but you're going to start him because you probably don't have someone better than him. I know he's had, 3 of the last 4 weeks have been pretty bad for him, but he's still Stephon Diggs. And I'm not going to get scared by the Dallas offense the Dallas defense when I have someone like Stephon Diggs. I wouldn't start Gabe Davis under any circumstances. It's just impossible to predict what he's going to do. And I don't know what to say about Kincaid because you probably don't have a better option at tight end, but I don't know. He's had a couple down weeks. And Dawson Knox is back in the mix. So I don't know what to say about Kincaid. That's up to you to decide. And like I said, with Dallas, I think Dallas is going to win this game pretty easily, but I want the game to be a shootout. That's what I'm hoping for, is a high-scoring endeavor with minimal defense. We'll see. And my fourth matchup of the week, the Eagles versus the Seahawks. First things first, it's Monday Night Football. Every team brings their A game on Monday night. So that's cool. Jalen Hurts had his worst game of the season last week against Dallas. As we were just talking about, their defense is rock solid. Their team overall is rock solid. But Jalen Hurts is a must start every week. Everyone knows that. A.J. Brown should be an absolute monster this week, going against a terrible Seattle secondary. Devonta Smith has been rock solid most of the season too. And DeAndre Swift has been pretty bad the last couple weeks. And you may very well have better options at running back. But if you have to play him, good news is Seattle's run defense sucks too. So that makes him a lot more appealing. I stay away from Dallas Goedert every season because he's overrated and injury prone. You may not have a better option at tight end, but you probably do. I mean, if Goddard's on your team, you probably had him on your bench for a long time while you picked up somebody else. Whoever that somebody else is, you probably want to play him over Dallas Goedert. But again, I could be wrong because Seattle's defense sucks. Geno Smith and Kenneth Walker are back in the mix for Seattle, but I don't know if either of those guys will be 100%. They may not have the highest ceiling, but they should have a reasonable floor. With that said, Geno could blow up. We don't know. The Philly secondary is suspect, and he has 2 very, very reliable weapons in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So I think Geno could be a good play. I think he's going to at least give you a solid floor, like I said. And he could blow up because DK and Tyler Lockett are awesome, and the secondary for Philly is suspect at best. It's time for the cold call of the week. And I got 2 for you. Chargers versus the Raiders tonight. Ooh, that's going to be bad. On top of Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen being out, Donald Parham and some linemen are banged up too. And the Raiders' D is actually pretty good. Although Max Crosby is recovering from a knee injury, so I don't know if he's going to be 100%. He might be in there, he might not. But outside of Austin Eckler, I'm not playing anyone on the Chargers. On the other side of the field, we have a couple linemen that are out. Devontae Adams is sick. He'll probably be playing, but he might not be 100%. And Josh Jacobs is banged up too. They aren't going to be 100%. And Jacoby Myers has been up and down all season. I'm just not confident in any Raiders this week. On top of all that, 2 backup quarterbacks, diminished offensive weapons, and respectable defensive units on both sides of the football. I'm staying far away from this game. My second cold matchup this week is the Falcons versus the Panthers. 2 more teams with a couple good players mixed into a collection of garbage. Bijan Robinson is a must start. And that's all. You would think Drake London is automatic after last week, but if you look at his overall production throughout the season, it's up and down, and he's had more down weeks than up. And the Panthers secondary is actually pretty good. Adam Thielen has been forgettable for over a month. Chuba Hubbard might be a good flex play because he gets plenty of volume or has over the last couple weeks. But I'd rather start someone else. If you're in the playoffs, you probably have better options. And the Falcons' defense has been pretty good this year. Stay away from this game altogether. It's time for our shit call of the week. I've been high on Zach Moss and the Colts over the last couple weeks, and they both let me down last week. With that said, I do like them this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers because Steelers aren't playing good football. They haven't been playing good football. They don't deserve to have a winning record. I think the Colts will run all over them and stuff them on defense. So I was wrong about the Colts defense last week. I was wrong about Zach Moss the last couple weeks, but I like him this week. Who knows? Maybe the Steelers' play calling will be better this week, but I doubt it. Right? I feel masochistic watching them play football. Pull your balls out, boys and girls. It's time for the Big Balls Call of the week. Keep it short and simple. My Big Balls Call this week is Derrick Henry getting 2 touchdowns. If you look over the last 3 games, Derrick Henry's gotten 2 touchdowns in each of those 3 games. So he's had 6 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks. I expect that trend to continue, and I'm going to call it that Derrick Henry scores 2 rushing touchdowns this week against Houston. I forgot he was playing, but I had it written down. Derrick Henry, 2 touchdowns against Houston this week. All right, folks, we got one more special segment for you today. We got the score with Jor. Who do you think is going to have the most overall points this week?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He always says Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. This week, he's going with Josh Allen. We'll see. He's got a tough matchup, but we shall see. He's great play every week, so you heard it here first. The number 1 player of the week, Josh Allen. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. See you on the next one. Good luck in the playoffs.